Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another Q&A live. While everyone's trickling in, I'm going to riff about the sequence of meditations. Someone asked me not that long ago about the sequence of sequencing meditations, and I have the answer. So, in my humble opinion, it's easier to start with Vipassana. Hello, welcome. I think that it's easier to start with Vipassana and then transition into Transcendental Meditation. I recently swapped the order of meditations, so I do TM every day. I don't always do Vipassana meditation every single day, but TM I do all the time. And if you haven't heard me speaking about TM is a Hollywood's best kept secret. A lot of A-listers, actors, producers do transcendental meditation, and it's the best thing for your mental health, and it's the best thing for your creativity. I learned about TM from David Lynch, and that's why I learned it a couple of years ago, and it's amazing. So, well done attending live at 2:30 a.m. I also have people I wake up for at like 3 a.m. to attend their lives. So, yeah, well done. Okay, I'm gonna get back to the sequencing. So, I swapped the order of meditations, and what I find is that it's easier to do Vipassana first and then TM, because Vipassana has an observer. You're watching your breath, and then when you're transitioning into TM, you just relax the focus. It's easier to relax your focus after you've been focused for like however long than being in the state of relaxed focus in transcendental meditation and then try to gather your thoughts and control your focus, where you're placing your focus. So that's the answer to all of those who are asking about the sequence of the meditations. First you do Vipassana, then you do Transcendental Meditation. Make sure you don't overlap them, and make sure for those people who actually trained or did the course in TM, make sure that you come out of the meditation properly. It's very important to come out of it properly. And for those who are doing the variation of Transcendental Meditation, it's not as important because you're not working with your specific mantra. I actually haven't really looked at the questions that was submitted, but I could see that there were some interesting ones. I hopped, so now I'm trying to do these lives more often, not these lives, but just hop on a live for like 30 minutes, pretty much every single day, without any notice. And last time I hopped on a live and I was chatting a little bit about how to deal with wanting to have the revenge on your twin flame. Which, like I work with ego as well as consciousness, and I'm not a saint, and I totally understand the feeling. And all I'm saying is, for all of you who feel vengeful towards your twin flame, your best revenge is your spiritual awakening. Because when you awaken and you separate yourself from your thinking mind and you understand that you are consciousness, they get that pull and they want to be around you, and that is the worst thing you can possibly do to them. Sorry, not sorry. Everyone who wants to take revenge on the twin, please just be diligent with your meditation. All right, let's see. How, after absolute no contact, my twin flame, blocked me. I've never interacted with his account. They changed the account from private to public. I mean, I'm not sure what's happening in your dynamic, but again, back to quantum entanglement, which is not the law of the system, it's just the principle that allows you to understand how it works. They respond to the state of your consciousness. You don't need to interact with the accounts. You don't need to talk to them. They respond to the state of your consciousness. That's why it doesn't matter if you're in no contact or you're not, stalking the social media. They're still going to respond to the state of your consciousness. They don't need to know what is happening. Twin flame is making me feel yuck. Is it because I'm not trained in it? TM, twin flame. TM is making me feel yuck. Have you done training? Or is it just TM that you find on YouTube? Because my experience with TM when I learned, so I'm extremely neurodivergent and I'm super sensitive to all the slight noise, all of that. When I went to TM Center literally to learn meditation, which is ceremony, takes about 2 hours for you to go through the ceremony and get the mantra and learn how to practice. I had to travel through like hustle and bustle, and because for the ceremony you also bring fruits and flowers, I had to run around the city and try to find fruits and flowers for my ceremony because I wasn't prepared. And while I was doing that, I was so exhausted that by the time I came to the TM Center, I was just so tired. I was like, I just want it to be over. And so my teacher taught me to meditate, and I remember I walked out of the center, and it's still hustle and bustle, and I was like, oh my God, I have never felt so peaceful. And that's why I meditate. I meditate twice a day, TM meditation, because it just makes me feel so peaceful. So perhaps, yes, maybe it's something to do with the technique. It's literally, it resets your nervous system within 20 minutes, and it activates theta brainwave, which is, it's the only meditation that activates theta brainwave, which is a healing brainwave. Healing brainwave, you know what I mean. A special week for twin flames. I don't know. Every week is a special week for twin flames. Energetically, I don't approach this as energies or whatever the hell. I just approach it. I talk about spiritual awakening. I talk about meditation. Do both parties know they are twin flames, or can they feel the connection? You don't need to put a label on it. You do feel the connection, but you are the main person who's going through the process. It's for you, not not for the... I've done TM training and I'm curious about it too. You're also experiencing feeling yuck in TM. I just Googled as best as I could. It's like 1,000 here. Yeah, it is. It's like $1,200 or $1,500. Transcendental meditation is expensive as hell. That's what I'm saying. Like is TM is the same as mantra chanting. So it's, you have the mantra, you get the mantra, your personal mantra, and then you start with the mantra and you go within. So that mantra allows you to go deep into your subconscious mind. So technically, yes. And someone asked me if whether Om meditation would do. I guess it could, but it's like there's a more complicated, complex mechanism with TM. I'm learning to become TM teacher because I'm curious. So I can't really advise you on that at the moment. All I can say is that I highly recommend, especially like I know a lot of people on the twin flame journey, they pay for like tarot readers and psychics and freaking chakra healing. Instead of doing all that, I would definitely invest in transcendental meditation training. That's what I would do, because like literally it changed my life. It changed my life, like before and after transcendental meditation. It makes you a happier human, like legitimately within days, not even within weeks or months. It's not an accumulative effect. Actually, it's both a cumulative effect and also immediate action. So I walked out of that TM center just having learned meditation and practiced for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And I felt like a completely different person, like my whole nervous system reset. So what transcendental meditation does, it clears your nervous system from stress. That's why they recommend meditating twice a day. First in the morning and second in the evening, because then you're kind of clearing what's been accumulated throughout the day, and then you also do the deeper clearing. You're clearing all the things that you've accumulated throughout your lifetime, kind of thing. So the longer you meditate, the longer you practice TM in terms of length of how long, like days, streaks, the easier it is for you. The better you feel. And you can Google transcendental meditation celebrities, and you will see how many A-listers do transcendental meditation, and no one talks about it. Jerry Seinfeld created the whole show in transcendental meditation. He was the one, he talked about it. He's like, transcendental meditation, it's like having a smartphone, and then you learn transcendental meditation and someone gives you the charger, and you're like, oh, it's legitimately, that's what it is. That's how I feel about TM. So please, if you have a chance to learn TM properly at the TM center, it will be the best investment you can possibly make. Thoughts about the past, even the good ones, considered as pushing energy towards them. Thoughts keep coming up and I do not... So thoughts is not a problem. The problem is the emotions that thoughts elicit. You can think, but what happens when you think and entertain that story is that you reinforce the emotions that are associated with that story. That's why it's quote-unquote dangerous, because emotions destabilize the system. Thoughts do not. You can just observe them. Think of all the thoughts and feelings and emotions as clouds in the sky. You're just observing them. You don't have to respond to them. And when you remember more and more that you are consciousness and you're not this thing that thinks, it's easier to observe your thoughts. Much easier. It's funny actually. I get a lot of hate. I'm not sure why, but I do get a lot of hate. And the greatest argument of people who like hate on me online is that, like my character, my identity. And it's like, you didn't collapse your ego, whatever the fuck. My response to that is that I don't actually first of all, I'm not a saint, I'm a human. And secondly, it's actually easier to entertain any identity after you have collapsed your ego, because you still need your suit. It's a suit that you're wearing, the identity suit. And you can choose the suit. That's why I encourage everyone. I'm like, no, you need to go through a spiritual awakening so that you can collapse this identity that you have created out of survival, so that you can actually create an identity that serves your highest self. Because you cannot you cannot step into your highest timeline with the identity that was created so that you can survive all the circumstances that you have survived. So to me, it's so funny. Just because I swear and tell people to fuck off, that doesn't mean that I did not collapse my ego. That just means that I chose the identity that serves what I try to accomplish. And boundaries is the same. Boundaries is, it's your ego. You need your ego. You need... Emotions is like reading a newspaper. Emotions is information. It's information about your internal and external environment. If you could put questions in the question box, that would really help me, because I can see that a lot of people are joining and writing, and I'm going to get overwhelmed with my dyslexic neurodivergent brain. See? I glitch. I glitch all the time. Okay, I'm going to move on. So yeah, thoughts are not the problem. It's not the problem. It's okay to think. It's okay to feel. You just notice it. Notice, thinking. That's what my Buddhist teacher teaches. The labeling technique, Vipassana meditation, Theravada tradition, that you can find in my highlights. It's called Feel Better. That's what he teaches. You just label everything. You put a label on it and it cuts it off. You acknowledge it and it cuts it off. You bring yourself back to the present moment. What are you doing right now? I'm holding a mug. Look, I can feel the temperature. That's the present moment. You remind yourself that you are in the now. And you just tolerate. Vipassana practice is practice of self-tolerance. And when you're able to tolerate yourself, your emotions, your feelings, your physical sensations in your body, when you're sitting there and your leg goes to sleep, or you feel itchiness or irritation and you do not move, because Vipassana is very strict on movement. You do not move. You still sit. You acknowledge. Before you change your position, you acknowledge that you need to change your position. And then you change slowly, so that you're still in meditation. The more you tolerate, the more you practice tolerance, the more you tolerate yourself. That's where self-love comes from. It comes from that self-tolerance, that practice. And the more you tolerate yourself and your internal, external feelings, emotions, whatever is happening to you, the more tolerant you are to other people, towards other people. You can only love someone to the capacity that you can love yourself. You cannot love someone more than you love yourself. That's where all the toxic attachments come from. Do you think you and your twin share the same soulmate? Does a soulmate feel the same energy for both of you? That's a really interesting question, actually. I actually think it does. I don't think they perhaps read it as that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But I think it does. I was thinking about it the other day. I think I truly do, because it's the same. You are the same spirit. Although soulmate is like a soul contract, more like soul contract. Like, I don't really like talking about spirituality on these lives, but it is fascinating. It's a good question. It's interesting. I was literally thinking about it the other day. I was like, I feel like it is. Perhaps it's like that recognition that you can't put a finger on it, because again, like, we have the egoic layer, right? Like, we have the egoic layer. You can, I don't know, your twin can feel jealous about your soulmate, but that's the egoic response. But on the soul level, you still recognize the connection. I don't know. That's my kind of hot take on that. Does the DM in the twin flame relationship move on as if nothing happened? Yeah, they do. A lot of the time I see that they do. They kind of like, they feel like, oh, it's done. And they just move on until the time you actually collapse your ego. And then they turn around, do a whole 180. Okay. I'm still laughing about me reading Twin Flame makes me yuck instead of Transcendental Meditation. Oh yeah, they do have discounts depending on your income or if you're a student. Transcendental Meditation. This is true as well. Okay, what else? It must be the frequency of the aligned self, I guess, is mantra. Just guessing. Yeah. Perhaps. Is there such a phase where the divine feminine, so to speak, loses feelings for divine masculine? Meditation helped me lose the attachment. Think of the DM, but I don't cling on it anymore. Yeah, that works. I mean, that's how we're kind of supposed to be. You can think, but you don't feel the attachment or longing or like experiences. No experiences. Oh my god. See, this is it. When I'm trying to read the screen and talk at the same time, it just doesn't work for my brain. I'm just like, this is a miracle that I can do this live. My brain is just freaking out every single time I do this. I have a memory of a goldfish. Okay, there was another good question. So yes, DM losing feelings for DF losing feelings for DM. Yes, it's a normal stage. It's a normal stage. And I think there is a stage of egoic detachment. So when you're ego, you're like, oh, fuck this shit. Like, seriously, fuck this shit. And you just like separate yourself on the egoic layer. And and the next step is obviously separating yourself from your thinking mind, from all the stories that you have created. You're like, oh, it doesn't matter. I'm actually consciousness. Like, none of this actually matters. So yeah, like, don't get too like upset or attached to whatever experiences you have with the attachment or relationship itself. Ideally, you're trying to get yourself to the state where you are so in the now that you trained yourself to bring yourself back from those thoughts of them constantly, and you're so in the now. Think about it as 10-second increments. Every 10 seconds you need to be aware of what you're doing. Every 10 seconds, you're choosing what you're doing. So if I'm drinking my hot water with lemon, in 10 seconds, I'm going to choose if I'm still doing that, if I'm still here. If I'm not doing that, then what am I doing? What am I aware of? So try to think about awareness in like 10 seconds, every 10 seconds. And the more you train yourself, the easier it is to separate yourself from thinking. You don't really think, like, I don't know, let me tap into my experiences. No, you don't think about them. You don't. And even if you do, it's just like a fleeting thought that you can just label and nip it in the bud. So, but it's okay if you do in the beginning. Like, it's fine. You're training yourself. It's not an easy thing to do. Okay, this is a great question. Hang on, no, I'll find it. Someone asked about praying. Is it okay? I think Allison. Is it okay to pray for protection for my twin and I connection from that evil person, or is that still attachment and pushing energy on him? So, and yes, you're meditating. Okay, I thought about it actually. I think that's a really interesting question. It can be attachment if you're entertaining those thoughts, if you're entertaining the story that whatever evil person is doing to you or people or spiritual warfare. That is a story, and that story is going to be used against you by your mind. So if you're entertaining that story, yes, you are pushing energy. Not in the sense of pushing energy, you're getting attached to the story. And generally speaking, when we think thoughts, we feel emotions in our body, which means that you will generate emotions. So my take on this would be, leave it to the divine. Whatever your relationship with the divine, with God, with the universe, whatever your relationship is, leave it to the divine. So yes, you can pray, but just make sure that you're not, again, it's that surrendering. Make sure that you surrender. Make sure that you trust that the higher power, the high intelligence, God, the divine, the universe can take care of it. And you are not solely responsible for this whole thing, because you are not. You're just doing your part. And the most important part for you is to meditate and separate yourself from all of those stories. So if those stories become thoughts and then become emotions, then it's a red flag. But if it's not, if you're able, because like I teach loving kindness meditation as well in my workshop, but I always preface as I say, do not practice loving kindness meditation out of desire to be with them. That is not what loving kindness meditation is for. Loving kindness meditation is metta, is sending love to everyone. It's equal. That's the twin flame love. Everyone who says like, oh, how come it's not a romantic? Yeah, it's not a romantic love. It's a love of non-attachment, the greatest love of all. The love of non-attachment, when you allow for the person to be whatever they want to be. That's love. Placing them into a box and placing an expectation on them, on how they're supposed to show up and who they're supposed to be, that is not love. That is not acceptance. Just reading. Let me read. Let me find my place. Let me find my place. Praying also helps. Yes, praying helps. I talk to God and kind of analyze everything, which helps my mind to calm down. If you a believer, you can try. I actually agree with this. When I was going through my dark night of the soul, which was really brutal, I came back to God, and I have a close friend, who brought me back to God, to my version of God. We have ideological differences with that friend of mine, but that's the only way I was able to cope with my pain. Realizing that I'm not the only person who can carry it, and I was talking about it on another live that was not recorded. It's like when you are religious, it's actually easier for you to surrender. When you're not religious, it's harder for you to surrender because you don't have that kind of discipline of surrender ingrained in you. So for spiritual people, it's actually harder to surrender and trust that you are not the only person, or you're not alone. It's hard, and especially if you've been raised, if you're an orphan, or if you had absent parents, you don't actually know that nurturing, loving presence. So to you, it's like I was talking about my friend and our conversation on the live. My friend's like, well, God is Father. And I'm like, that doesn't ring a bell for me, because like I don't understand that relationship. I had absent parents, so I don't really know how to surrender and trust. So I had to build that relationship with God. trust that, yes, God is like a father. But again, apply it to your religious structure, your religious belief. And yes, prayer definitely helps. It just reminds you that you're not alone. And you are not. But you are responsible for it. You are responsible for what you do, how you go about it. I'm just confused about the big difference between the two, Vipassana and TM. Yeah, I get that. It can be confusing. Vipassana has the observer. So Vipassana, you place your attention on your breath and you observe your breath rising and falling in my tradition that I'm teaching. TM has no observer at all. You're just sitting there. You just basically can go to the park and just like sit on the bench and watch everything and not watch your thoughts, just you can think, you can not think, you can listen to the music, and that's kind of transcendental meditation, just being, not doing. You're not doing anything, you're just being. That's TM. Add a mantra to that, and that's basically transcendental meditation. There is science to it, obviously. It's not as simple as that, but in a nutshell. After reaching non-attachment, have you ever tried to consciously collapse ego of your twin by pointing out their paradoxes? My take on that is that I actually wanted to talk about it at some point and I forgot. Everything that you don't like about your twin flame is not up to you. They're a separate person. And yes, you can see that they are acting out of alignment or they have greater potential, and it's not up to you what they do with that potential. They can squander it. It's up to them. You live your life. You're responsible for yourself. The only thing you can influence is how they feel about you, because when you collapse, when you reach the state of non-attachment, they just want to be around you. They do. They feel magnetized towards you. And everything that they were saying about they don't want to be in a relationship and they're not interested and they would want to date other people, and that all goes out the fucking window. That is the only thing that you can influence through your practice. How they behave and what they choose to do in terms of their egoic avatar, that's up to them. And if you're still trying to control them and if you still try to point something out, that's control. That's not love. Love is patient. Why people say love is patient? Because love is allowance. It truly is the greatest love of all, the twin flame love. But it's just people misunderstand it as unconditional love. Unconditional love is unhealthy. The love of allowance is healthy. You allow, you see things for what they are, and if you don't like their behavior or how they show up in life, you place the boundary. You don't have to be with them. You don't have to be in contact with them. They are a separate person. You are not responsible for their healing journey. Their healing journey is their healing journey. Whatever they decide, whatever egoic avatar they decide to choose in this lifetime, it's up to them. It's not up to you. So yes, when they get the pull and they want to be around you, the chances of them actually collapsing their ego are higher, because suddenly they will understand that they are not the energetic match to you. So yes, they would probably want to change something about how they go about life. They do. Because again, if love doesn't change you, then I don't know what will. If love doesn't change you, you're pretty much hopeless. That's how I look at it. And I had a live, the one before the live with Kadara 2 weeks ago, that's recorded as well. You can find it in my highlights on shared consciousness. So watch that live about how to manipulate them. I try to explain shared consciousness as much as I can. It's really hard to explain it, but I try my best. I keep obsessing over her. How do I get her to text me back? It's been a month since I sent my last voice note and 2 months since we last spoke. You can't make them do that unless you separate yourself from all the thinking and all the emotions that you feel. You can't make them. You can't manifest them back. You can't. The only way for you to be with them or be in contact with them or for them to want to be around you is for you to reach the state of non-attachment. That is the only way I know. You can be the best person on your best behavior, the most beautiful, successful, amazing, hot, beautiful person in the world. They still wouldn't want to be with you. It's a system. It's not an ego. I have been going through ego death since January 2023. Now, when I seen your page, I started getting it, and it makes sense. I'm glad that it makes sense. What if you have a strong urge to sleep with your twin flame during separation? Opportunity arises. Can you? Should you? Everything that you want, all the actions that you want to take, everything, all the emotions, all the actions, all the desire, lust, anger, frustration, anything. Check yourself. Just check in whether that's ego. Are you acting? Do you want to act out of ego, or are you acting out of alignment? If you're acting out of ego, that's not going to help you. That's how you know. So, for instance, a lot of people, and I talk about it all the time, a lot of people, when they first get the taste of separating yourself from the thinking mind, and the twin comes back and starts to, pay attention to them, they're like, actually, I'm in control. Well, and they try to play with the twin, and don't do that, because that's ego. You're destabilizing the system again. If you're playing with them out of ego because you can, yes you can, yeah, and I get that it's tempting after all the shit that they've put you through, but the only person you're hurting is yourself, because ultimately you're just destabilizing the state of equanimity that you are reaching, or trying to reach. Do twin flames have other soulmates? Yeah, we have plenty of soulmates. They don't have to be romantic. They can be romantic. Not everyone end up with their twin flame either, which is totally normal. You don't have to be with them. The whole purpose of this, and I talk about it as natural selection. It is natural selection. The whole purpose of your twin flame, meeting your twin flame, is your spiritual awakening. Because when you awaken, you'll affect the whole world through how you show up in life, through your actions, through your words, through how you interact with people. And I'm not saying being kind and nice to everyone. Sometimes consciousness is not always, that's what people get wrong about consciousness. Consciousness is not always about being nice and kind. Sometimes consciousness and seeing things for what they are is about telling people to fuck off. That is also consciousness. TM didn't stop me from the crazy obsessive thoughts, but I started way before I knew who my twin flame is. TM is not going to help you with obsessive thinking. Vipassana does. That's why I started my workshop. When I originally created it, so I realized that it's a spiritual awakening because I was like, this reminds me of something. I went through my spiritual awakening in 2014. And it was also because of a relationship. So I ended up at the Buddhist temple because of that. And I was like, oh, hang on a second, that's what it reminds me of. So I created the workshop when I was just teaching Vipassana meditation to women, to all women. I'm like, I don't care if you have met your twin flame or haven't met your twin flame, because Vipassana helps everyone. Vipassana helps you stop the obsession. It doesn't matter what kind of obsession it is. Use the obsessive thoughts to understand ego collapse and non-duality. Yes, it's so funny. I always say, when you're trying to understand, so you're trying to understand consciousness and soul alignment or whatever, soul frequency. You're trying to so imagine consciousness as a bowl of soup in front of you. That's a bowl of soup. That's consciousness. And you have never tried this. You don't know what it is, but it's a bowl of soup. But the only thing you have is a fork. So fork is your mind. You're trying to understand, you're trying to eat soup with a fork. You're trying to understand consciousness with your thinking mind. How much of the soup you're going to eat with a fork? Well, some of it. Some of it you can, some of it you can understand, you can eat, but that's the limitation of the mind. That's why it's so hard to explain what the state of non-attachment and the state of oneness. You're trying to eat soup with a fork, that's why. Okay, you said that after ego collapse, if I embrace stoicism, basically, control yourself and accept what you cannot control wouldn't be emotionless, basically. It's not emotionless. The problem with us as humans processing emotions is that we don't actually process emotions. We're meant to feel them. Emotions are important. Again, emotions is like reading the newspaper. If you're feeling anger, that means that something in your environment, internal or external, is like ringing the bell, ringing the alarm. Emotions are not bad. They are telling you, they are delivering information about your environment. So if someone is triggering you or is being disrespectful towards you and you feel anger, that's a signal. The problem with us humans is that we get caught up in, we feel the emotion, and instead of going down here, so in our body, we go down here, up here. We go in our mind and we create more stories about that emotion. Oh, I feel angry because this person is such and they such and such because that and that. Like, we just create stories. And instead of going and processing those emotions, what does it mean to process emotions? It means you feel them in your body. You feel them as physical sensations. And I work with my celebrity coach, and she has an exercise of emotional processing. Emotions, it's science, it's proven. Emotions only live in your body for about 90 seconds if you are able to fully pay attention to them. So you can process literally any emotion that arises for 90 seconds. It takes 90 seconds for the emotion to go away if you're able to process it. So when you, yes, understanding what you can control and what you can't control is the best way of living. So what you can control? You can control yourself, you can control your choices, you can control how many times you meditate, you can control what kind of life you want to lead, the identity, the way you want to show up in the world. What you cannot control is other people. You cannot control your twin flame. You cannot control what they choose to do in their life. You can't control that. So it's not emotionless. You acknowledge the emotions. Hang on, I'm trying to find my place again. I can't. There's too much scrolling. Yeah, you acknowledge the emotions, but you don't become a slave to your emotions. And that's what Vipassana teaches. Vipassana teaches you just that. Notice it, acknowledge it, bring yourself back to the present moment. That's why meditation, specifically Vipassana meditation, is not this like silent, nothing is happening. No, it's constantly bringing yourself back to anchor. Constantly bring yourself back to your breath. What happens after we do all this work? Is there another separation after? No, you just do the work, you separate yourself from the thinking mind, you reach the state of non-attachment, and then you decide what you want to do with your twin, because that's when they typically either come back or want to be around you, with you, or whatever. And then you can decide from the non-attached state, then you can decide what you want to do with your life. But the reason why I work with the ego and always like tell you stories about how to reframe it in a different way is because I don't care how you get to the state of non-attachment. You can, if rage drives you, if you're doing it out of spite, good on you. Do it out of spite. I don't care. Meditate out of spite. Separate yourself from the thinking mind out of spite as a way to revenge, like take revenge on them. Fine. Because when you get to the state of non-attachment, all of that will collapse and you won't care about any of those stories anymore. So whatever mechanism, whatever story you're using to get to the state of non-attachment, please use that, whatever works for you. literally whatever. If you want to be with them, if you don't want to be with them, if you think that they are the biggest hustle in the world, like, it doesn't matter, because when you reach the state of non-attachment, all of that collapses. You literally do not care. You don't even remember the stories that you've been through with them. I feel like I'm getting to a point where there's no emotion behind the thoughts. I feel detached, but there are still thoughts. Thoughts are normal. Just label them as thinking thoughts, and let go. Bring yourself back to the present moment. How do you know if you have actually detached from your twin flame? Not craving, not longing. If you don't even think about the twin flame journey anymore, that's how you know. You just live your life. That's how you know. Or you're attending lives to listen about meditation and practices, and not because you want your twin flame back. Just be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself in your intentions. No one is judging you. No one knows what's happening in your mind. It's just you. The only way you can be with your twin flame is reaching the state of non-attachment. You can learn about it from teachings of non-duality. Which source books do you recommend? I have a whole list of books. Where do I have a list of books? I recently posted a list of books on my threads, so the same handle, Roshani. Have a look. It literally a couple of days ago, I think. That will be the easiest way. I have a list of books at the end of pretty much every single twin flame video that I post as well, especially the one that's pinned to my profile. I'm having a hard time figuring out if he is my twin flame. We keep running away from each other and then coming back together, but now we are talking casually and as friends, and he's actually a nice person. Great. It doesn't matter if he is your twin flame or not. If you practice Vipassana and if you're struggling with obsessive thinking, pain, emotional pain, or whatever it is, practice Vipassana and it's going to help you. And you will know if it's your twin flame or not, because twin flames are the only people who do 180 on you after you reach the state of non-attachment. Everyone else just fall off. Yes, there is a thing, I was talking about it on my stories recently. There is this thing, like, you become magnetic, especially as a woman, and people are just like falling over each other, trying to get your attention. But it's simply because you detach from the outcome. You reach the state of non-attachment and you become magnetic because you no longer like play by the rules, in a sense. You're not trying to appease anyone. You're not trying to prove anything. And that is magnetic. That is magnetic frequency. You're aligning yourself with the frequency of your soul's essence, which is the state of infinite possibilities. You're not attached to the outcome. So it's easier to kind of magnetize people. And yeah, like your exes coming out of the woodwork, that's normal. That's normal experience. But twin flames are the only people who actually come back, so to speak, come back. They get pulled. People say if you raise your vibration, you will attract from same or similar vibration. What do you say about it? Yeah, absolutely. You attract your frequency. How do you get the spoon? You get the spoon? Let me think about that metaphor. How do you get the spoon? The spoon. I don't think there is a spoon for that, but that kind of soup. You just, when you eat that soup, you're like, oh, I know what it is now. Okay. The state where there seems to be no past stories or any stories about anyone, but also feeling the energy, which I'm guessing is shared consciousness. It feels like a high that also feels delusional. Could you speak what that is and what to do with that? Yeah, it's kind of like when you align yourself with the, oh my God, language. And especially if you experience the state of oneness, which is when you feel like you like everything, like there's no separation between you and everything else. And I always, to explain this for you to understand this further, I highly recommend Go Google, look up TED Talk called My Stroke of Insight by Jill Bolte Taylor. She's a brain scientist and she wrote a book, My Stroke of Insight. She had a stroke and her left hemisphere just went offline and she lost the sense of the boundary between her body and everything else. And she describes this feeling, the state of oneness that everyone talks about. So watch that TED Talk and you'll understand what the state of oneness means or how it's felt. And when you're on that frequency, you feel a lot, like you feel a lot of vibrations and energies and all of that. And that's why it's important to, like the way my spiritual teacher teaches it, it's like you have to protect yourself when you get to that stage, and be very intentional with what you do. And again, just make sure that shared consciousness or whatever it is that you're experiencing, does not affect the stories that you create about yourself, about your twin, about the world. Because if it does, you're sliding back into the ego. Why is it a roller coaster? I detach, then reattach, we work together, and we have these phone calls, and I get attached again. You get attached because they're like crack. It's like literally you. It's your frequency. It's your like soul's frequency. It's like your natural scent. The reason why you feel like they are your family is because they are. They are your spirit. We have separate souls, but they are your spirit. The spirit is the same. It's like it's your natural scent in a way that you can now like sense, feel, which is your like your favorite thing in the world, and it's like in this person. That's why they feel like crack. It's not because they like the most amazing, the most beautiful, the smartest, the most blah blah blah. It has nothing to do with that. They can be an asshole and you still feel like they are the best thing in the world, because it's literally your vibration, your soul's frequency. I've read that there's twin flames and karmic twins. Is the Lara a real thing? Thanks. It's a longer conversation. I do believe that there's false twin flame, which I talk about, and they are kind of feel karmic. I don't really like going into like all of those spiritual labels. I don't think they are helpful, but yes, that's how I got awakened in 2014, because I had a false twin flame, and yes, they feel very much the same, like very similar, not the same, very similar. It's really hard to tell the difference, but they fall off. If you practice Vipassana and you reach the state of non-attachment, that obsession goes away, and your twin comes back if it's your twin. Your take on genders embodying the opposite divine gender. So the divine feminine, divine masculine, it has a place, but it's just polarity. It has nothing to do with the gender. It's just the polarity. So it doesn't actually matter if you're any kind of gender embodying the divine feminine, as they call it. It's just the polarity. The way I explain it, the way my spiritual teacher explained it to me, is that different people awaken through different ways, and people who awaken through the twin flame journey are predisposed to be awakened through the heart. So you awaken through the heart, you awaken through love. People call it divine feminine, you can call it whatever you want. It's just the polarity. Any insight when both twins are married to other people? You're not the only one. I have many people in my DMs who are either married, or they're twin married, or they're both married, and they have this situation. If you want to be with them, non-attachment. It literally does not matter. This system, the quantum system, does not care about your egoic layer and your circumstances that you're in, your life circumstances. Literally doesn't matter. So if you want to be with them, you can. Just don't create a story about it. Like, oh, it's a special thing. It's a special thing because it allows you to collapse your ego and reach the state of non-attachment and step into your highest timeline. I'm gonna say this. because I get a lot of hate online, I really genuinely don't understand why people don't go and find someone who work for them as a coach, as a teacher, as a guide, as like whatever, because I don't work with just anyone. I am interested in working with people who are just like me, are highly ambitious, high achievers. I'm a filmmaker. I'm making films, I'm creating projects. That's what I care about. I'm a high achiever. I have a lot of compassion for people, but I am most interested in working with people who come to me and say, oh my God, I need help with this because I have this dream life that I envision of like doing all these crazy things that to other people seem unachievable. And I'm like, yes, let's fucking go. That's my joy. That's my pleasure. I love working with people who are highly driven and highly ambitious. That's how I look at the twin flame journey. It's a natural selection. People who just want to get to the state of non-attachment because they want to get the twin back, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in getting you to the state of non-attachment so that you can change the world. That's what I'm interested in. Your twin coming back and you being in a relationship with them is nothing compared to what you can achieve when you separate yourself from your thinking mind, from the layer that you have created to survive. Chuck it and adopt a new identity. You can literally choose any identity you want after you separate yourself from the thinking mind. You can become a badass. You can change the world. So you thinking that this is like the end goal, being with your twin flame, that's nothing compared to what you can achieve. Literally nothing. It's a portal. Your twin flame is a portal to your dream life. That's what it is. It's the best thing that ever happened to you, even though it feels like it's the worst thing that ever happened right now. I have a couple minutes left in me. Can I get away from him ever? I feel suffocated and I feel like running away, but I don't feel like dating anyone else. And I'm working on myself. You can get away. You can get away from them. You can. I promise. You can. You can separate yourself from your thinking mind. You can separate yourself from the obsession, from like all of that. The feeling that you have, like the fear that a lot of people have, like I'm not gonna meet another person who will feel as meaningful, like in the connection, or I'm not gonna love anyone as deeply. That is not true. You reach the state of non-attachment, and you will see how, you're coming back to life. You will be coming back to life. Maybe it's going to take you a little bit longer, but you will be able to overcome all this. And if you don't want to be with your twin, you don't have to be. My twin flame is with someone else. That's fine. The majority of twin flames are with someone else. You're not the only one. Collapse your ego, separate yourself from the thinking mind. Reach the state of non-attachment, they will want to be with you. They will drop all of their hoes. And yes, I always say I have highlight section on my Instagram, like highlight section. It's like 6+ hours of free content. All the lives, all the story Q&As that I've recorded, not all of them, but a lot of them. Watch that, like sit down, watch all that. The majority of your questions will just fall off after you've watched like 7 hours of content. I answer a lot of questions there. Majority of twin flames with someone else. I wonder if I detach and heal myself, are we going to reunite? It's not about healing. You can reunite with them, only when you reach the state of non-attachment. That is the only way. You should make a live on case study, people who make it. The majority of people don't really want to talk about it. That is the problem. And I honestly think it is kind of somewhat dangerous because there are people out there who become really obsessed, and I've seen this with me. People are stalking my twin, which is insane. So I had to delete a bunch of things from my social media and stuff so that people don't fucking do that. I don't know why twin flames are such a contested topic, but people get really obsessed, so I'm not surprised why people don't want to talk about it publicly. Although, if we talk about it publicly more and more, which is what I'm trying to achieve, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to normalize this, because clearly it's something that's happening to more and more people. The more we talk about it, the more we normalize it, just like anything else, you know. I come from a culture where mental health does not exist, but now it does. Hey, we just need to spread the joy. When I was going through this thing, I was literally, as soon as I understood that it was spiritual awakening, I told all of my friends, some of them on the live, I told all of my friends, I'm like, I'm going through spiritual awakening. This is my twin flame. And some of my friends still think that I'm crazy, but at the same time, the more confident you are in your craziness, the more people take your side. Yeah, the more we talk about it, the more we normalize it. Absolutely. That's why I started talking about it more from like a not non-spiritual lens, because I think it's easier for people to digest when you talk about it from like the perspective of this is a spiritual awakening and that's it. It's not the divine masculine, divine feminine, because if you say divine, actually I have a friend who unfortunately endured my phase of me believing that I'm divine feminine with the divine masculine in tow. We're still friends. But that was rough. My childhood best friend said I was in psychosis. Yeah, I get that. Well, that's why we have each other. Hey, you're not alone. No, the more we talk about it, the more we normalize it, the easier it's going to get. And it's not going anywhere. And I think my personal take on this is that we need to raise collective consciousness on this planet. It's time for us to do that. That's why everyone's bumping into the twin flames all of a sudden. So, I don't know. Let's create a merch. Twin flame journey is your spiritual awakening, not a love story. So, it's the more you talk about it, the more you normalize it, the more you claim it, the easier it gets for other people to understand. Just don't talk about it as divine feminine, divine masculine thing. I'm going to pick another question from the question box and then I'm going to hop off because I got to run. Recommendations about quantum leap jump books, video recommendations. I don't have video recommendations. It's kind of like accumulated knowledge for me. A lot of the things that I talk about is accumulated knowledge for me. And yes, sometimes I can point you to the books. One book that I highly recommend everyone to read to understand timelines it's the book on manifestation. Please don't manifest your twin back. I hope you understand that you can't manifest your twin back. But what's his name? Vadim Zeland. He's a Russian physicist turned mystic. He wrote a book on reality transurfing. I think it's called reality transurfing. Reality transurfing, as like surfing. It's about timelines and how you kind of shift between timelines. So he is. He's a physicist. So he approaches it just like the way I approach it. He approaches it from science. I read that book like 25 years ago. I was like, 20 years ago, I was like 17 or 18 when I read that book. So he explains it from scientific perspective. He approaches it from the scientific perspective. And he explains manifestation basically. So kind of like what Neville Goddard talks about, but in a different way, because it's like shifting timelines. And also watch the live I did with Kadara last week. It's seriously, it will be so helpful for you. Was the second time easier for you when you met your twin flame, because you already did it in 2014 when you met false twin? I want to know, does it get better each time? Okay, well, that's a good question. No, my spiritual awakening, this one, it was fucking brutal. It was literally like the worst thing I have ever endured. There's a reason why I teach. If you think my journey was easy, it was not. And I did not have anyone to fucking teach me this. All I had is algorithm with tarot readings and people talking about divine masculine, divine feminine. By the time I finally figure out, I'm like, hang on a second, this is literally feels like spiritual awakening. Like I went through this in 2014. Then I went into, because I did Vipassana and Transcendental Meditation, and I attend sessions with Bob Roth every single day, who is TM teacher. And he was talking about quantum something and the observer effect. And I was like, so I got into quantum mechanics from that. And then I was like, it sounds like, because I can see that my twin's responding to my, how like my meditative states and stuff. I'm like, it seems like it's a system. Like it seems like he responds to something. So that's how I got into physics and quantum physics. And I started learning about all of that. And then when my algorithm changed, I came across, what's his name, channel, New World All Star. And he talks about it. He talks about it from the perspective of physics. I highly recommend you go and binge watch his videos. Go do that. But I think he talks about it from the physics perspective, not quantum physics perspective. Yes. So my second one was brutal as heck, because when you are when you are exposed to different modalities, when you understand psychology, I'm a trained mental health professional. I've been doing mental health work for over 10 years. You look at that toxic dynamic and you think, fuck this. Like this is, you gotta go have a therapist or something, do something about it. Like this is insane. And you judge yourself as well. So instead of collapsing your ego, you actually create more and more stories. So for me, it was harder. And that's what I see in people who come to me. I truly believe that people who come to me have a lot of like really like brutal stories with their twins, and for a reason. And it's really difficult for you guys to collapse your stories and your ego. And that's why you come to me, because I explain it from a different perspective. I can explain how to like collapse all of that drama and stuff. But people who are social workers, psychologists, who work with consciousness, who have all the modalities, it's actually harder for them to go through a spiritual awakening. It was harder for me to go through the second one. Yes, I had the knowledge, I already knew Vipassana, and I started practicing Vipassana as soon as it clicked for me. I was like, oh, of course it is. Of course, Vipassana, okay, let's do that, let's go. But it was harder for me. So it's easy in the sense that, yes, I had the knowledge and I had the basics of understanding. I had Transcendental Meditation, I had Vipassana, I had like a whole toolkit. And still it was hard for me. And also the more bullshit stories about from the pseudo-spiritual narrative you accumulate, the harder it is for you. The more you accumulate the stories about the divine masculine, divine feminine, all those bloody coaches who talk about all of that shit and use Sanskrit words and try to explain like this, what you're going through all of that, like Shakti and Mudra and all of that, like it's not going to help you. Trust me. You can get into that. It has place. You can get into that after you detach, after you reach the state of non-attachment. All of that is polarity. All of that is Hermetic philosophy. That's what Kadara talks about. Whenever Kadara does Q&As on his stories or whatever, ask him these questions. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, go watch my lives. That's my spiritual teacher. It's harder for people who have been exposed to and brainwashed through the pseudo-spiritual narrative about divine masculine, divine feminine to detach from all that shit. No, I was not on Instagram as a mental health professional, ever. Okay. Let me find another one and then I'm gonna hop off for sure. I feel like my twin flame hates me and is not going to forgive me for what I do, what I did to forgive me. What do I do? Okay. Same thing. what you do is you separate yourself from the thinking mind. Go watch my live that was recorded 2 weeks ago. I talk about shared consciousness. Everything is salvageable. It doesn't matter what kind of stories you created with your twin. You can still be together if you want to. It literally does not matter, because when you reach the state of non-attachment, you collapse all of those stories. They no longer matter. That's not how it works for this connection when you go through a spiritual awakening. You separate from all of that because you realize that you are living in the now. And the past does not matter, and the future does not matter. It hasn't happened yet. The future, the uncertainty that you feel about the future is just your ego translating the state of infinite possibilities. The soul's essence is the state of infinite possibilities. In quantum physics, they call it superposition, where anything can happen, literally anything. So your soul's native state is the state of superposition. When you reach the state of non-attachment, you bring yourself back to that superposition. But your ego interprets that state of infinite possibilities as uncertainty and responds to it with fear. That's why people can't manifest. People can't manifest not because they're not good at manifesting. People can't manifest because they cannot break through the layer of their fear. They cannot overcome their fear. They cannot surrender. Because the illusion of the fear is so strong, you think that the fear is going to hurt you. And it can't. It's just an illusion. If you surrender and let go, you're invincible and you can create anything. I have a PDF. It's called The Probability Fix on my Stand store. I talk about that in that PDF. How doing is not going to get you anywhere, but being is going to get you somewhere. And I'm writing an article about the state of infinite possibilities as well. I have a lot of work, so I'm not sure when anything is going to come out. Like, I'm working 14 hours a day with a lot of help, and I'm still working a lot of hours. So I'm doing my best, and that's why I try to be on the live as much as possible so that I can answer your questions. With that said, thank you so much for being here and asking amazing questions, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.